One of the times that I interviewed you, somebody got on my case, and I'm like, I treat addicts, people in their addictive disease do things that they wouldn't otherwise do, and some of it they need to make amends for, and whatever that means for them.
When you're a famous person, you have almost an avatar of yourself in the world. It comes with extraordinary benefits and trinkets and pleasures being a famous person. It can be a wonderful mask. My beautiful young son, who was born with a condition called tetralogy of Fallot and a syndrome called de George syndrome. This all happened simultaneously, doctor, and it was so overwhelming. I kind of broke in two. And if you've been a kind of a flamboyant, expressive, self-destructive person, you know, you might think, well, that kind of person would never kill themselves. They're too indulgent. But when I've looked at the final words of men that have taken their own lives, their relatives kindly shared their last words with me. They had problems that I recognized.
All right, we've got Russell Brand here now. The book again is How to Become a Christian in 7 Days, and the subtitle I love as much: May take 50 years of sin and serious F-ups to get started. There's a full screen. Russell, congratulations on the book. Welcome. Good to see you.
Drew, Dr. Drew, beloved Dr. Drew, friend of mine, tenacious, beautiful man, healer. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm already grateful that you continue to include me in your community and in your work when I've dealt with so much stuff lately. Thank you.
Well, you know, Russell, you do a lot of stuff. And one of the times that I interviewed you, somebody got on my case, and I'm like, wait a minute. I live in the world where I treat addicts, people in their addictive disease do things that they wouldn't otherwise do, and some of it they need to make amends for, and whatever that means for them. And I'm all about people getting sober and getting well and making those amends and having, you know, a rich life where they help others. And so thank you for writing this book and for speaking out constantly about about recovery and about spirituality.
This book, in a sense, is a continuation of that work, an almost involuntarily written book, How to Become Christian in 7 Days, May take 50 years of sin and serious F-ups to get started. It's kind of a joke title about a serious subject. After being clean and sober for 12 years by God's grace and the principles of 12-step programs that can be applied to alcoholism and drug addiction and a variety of other things, I didn't really recognize that I was still caught up in an identity that was fortified by fame and celebrity, obviously something that you know a good deal about yourself. When you're a famous person, you have almost an avatar of yourself in the world. It comes with extraordinary benefits and trinkets and pleasures being a famous person. It can be a wonderful mask. But when the matters to which you alluded already, and of which I cannot speak due to the restrictions of UK law, and also a kind of a personal respect around the severity of the situation that I face legally. When that happened, in conjunction with the health challenges of my beautiful young son, who was born with a condition called tetralogy of Fallot and a syndrome called de George syndrome, this all happened simultaneously, doctor. And it was so overwhelming, I kind of broke in two. And in truth, you know, you'll have dealt with this more than me due to the nature of the work you've done and continue to do. I feel like we don't know how close to suicide we are. And if you've been a kind of a flamboyant, expressive, self-destructive person, you know, you might think, well, that kind of person would never kill themselves. They're too indulgent. But when I've looked at the final words of men that have taken their own lives, which I did for a project some time ago, what struck me was not how outlandish or extreme what they wrote was, but how ordinary and how normal. These men that were already dead, their relatives kindly shared their last words with me. They had problems that I recognized. They were talking about financial worries. I'm not good enough. You'll be better off without me. And I can't tell you, I did not imagine that I would be at my age becoming a Christian or following Jesus. Becoming a Christian doesn't even seem like the right word, actually. It's just one of the terms that's available. But recognizing the truth of Christ. I'm aware, Doctor, that some people will be saying, oh, this is some kind of ruse or scam. And in this sort of endless marketplace of ruses and scamming and selling things, it's a perfectly reasonable line of inquiry, as a matter of fact. But it's more authentic than my own name. It's more authentic than the years I've spent in recovery. It's more important than whether or not my personal encounter's authentic, because the most important thing that could ever be true is true. God is real, and we're living in a fallen world, pursuing false ideals and false goals when we don't have to, when there's a way out of it. And the point of this book is to show people that what I initially was granted and shown in recovery, that there's a way out of the hell of addiction, is true when it comes to an intimate understanding of the nature of reality, a personal connection in real time to Christ. And I've done my best to offer a testimony, which is all any Christian does, or any person who wants you to understand the nature of their faith, because it's the most important thing in the world. And I hope I've certainly done it the best I can.
I understand clearly that this book is about ways to Christianity, and that has been your experience. Does it have to be Jesus? Are there other ways to experience a spiritual life?
There are other ways, of course, to experience a spiritual life. I think I was experiencing a spiritual life before. In fact, I think anyone with an addiction issue, and I'd love your perspective on this, is actually trying to pursue a spiritual life. They have found that the dead, inert world is not good enough for them, doesn't work for them, and they need to somehow galvanize it or defibrillate it or try and make it work for them. Some of the most holy and beautiful people I've ever met include atheists, a living Hindu saint, specifically Amma, members of the Hare Krishna movement, Radhanath Swami. Like, I've met really beautiful mystics before coming to Jesus. But for me, the reason it has to be Jesus is because the actual truth is that what's in the Bible is real, that the creator of the universe came to earth and lived a human life in total vulnerability and took shame upon himself and was reborn. So in that sense, yes, it does have to be Jesus, because that is the truth. But I will say that I have encountered people who are not followers of Christ that exhibit and exude the living love that he embodied and gave us.
I read your book, and congratulations. There were some war stories in there that I had trouble reading.
Oh, really?
And you used it was tough. You were falling on your sword, believe me. But I just want you to refine my experience for me a little bit, which is that you use the word exploitative a number of times in various sort of settings. But the interesting experience I had reading some of your exploits, let's call them exploits rather than exploitative. Mm. What were these other people experiencing that participated with you? Were they co-addicts? Were they, that was the part I'm going like, what were these people experiencing? Why were they participating? What was their part of all this? And it was really hard for me to see that.
I wonder, and of course, how can I possibly speak for them? I wouldn't venture to. But what I will say, you're still in California and maybe even in Los Angeles. Dr. Drew, and I know that there are a lot of famous men that are able to, let's use the word, take advantage of and exploit a society that objectifies men and women and offers us nothing higher than pleasure. Pleasure consensually sought, pleasure magnetized to fame and celebrity. I don't think my experience was any different than, hey, on the right night out on Sunset Boulevard at Chateau Marmont, I think you could empty a bag of ping pong balls and hit 20 guys that lived exactly the way I lived. So I guess it's normal. I agree
with you. I agree.
In a rare situation.
It's not. Yeah, I get it, but it's interesting because you're examining it, and I think exploitative is too volitional. I think exploits. This was your story. And I think we need to, it's part of the spiritual emptiness is the co-addicts too, the people that participated with you, right? That's further evidence of spiritual emptiness in our culture. Isn't that, do you see it that way, or am I just reaching?
No, I think it's a perfectly reasonable line of inquiry, Doctor. Someone recently said, I attend like men's groups for addiction stuff. And someone said, like, when you finish drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels, the bottle of Jack Daniels doesn't have feelings about it. Now, of course, if you're living in a world, a culture that's built around hedonism, and the culture of Los Angeles or London or New York is perhaps no different from the cultures of Corinth or any number of places where people are told the best thing you can do. This is, I think, the message of our culture. You tell me if you disagree. You as an individual are your own little God. There is no God out there. It's just empty space. You're the result of chaotic and bizarre, unfolding mechanical processes that have somehow led to you being conscious and alive and having thoughts and feelings and love and the multitude of very particular laws that are required for life to exist. Put that to one side. You're alive. You're going to die. There's nothing higher to do than to take pleasure, to distract yourself. And, we live in I think, Doctor, a culture that normalizes pornography, normalizes sexuality, normalizes prostitution while simultaneously judging it. Like if you look at something like, I don't know, OnlyFans or any one of a number of those amalgamated porn sites. I'm not saying if their names, I don't want to be on here advertising brands of porn sites as a person that abstains from all forms of objectification as best as I can. But it's pretty clear that the culture is trying to synthesize a spiritual experience of connection through casual objectification in a way that is expansive, institutional, and normalized. It's normal to do that. That's what people are doing.
You're answering my question. You're really answering my question that we started with here. It's like, what's going on with everybody else? I get what you went through and your recovery and your found a spiritual life, but I'm starting to worry about everyone else. And the sort of condensed way, that I think about these things, I'm going to have to take a break and fix our carbon monoxide monitor. I don't know if you can hear it chirping in the background, but Adam and I used to make fun of people who let their fire, alarms chirp at them. So I will not be part of that.
I can't sit here and watch you die of carbon monoxide poisoning while we talk about the abstract condition of addiction will kill you eventually, but carbon monoxide will kill you imminently.
No, we painted, and the painting keeps triggering this stupid thing. And I know how to reset. Do you know how to reset it? I'm going to use it. Okay. Well, there's one in Douglas's room, in the other room there. You can use it. Okay. There's a big button on it right in the front. You can just reset it. But you're articulating in a beautiful way this concern I have. You're characterizing the problem, which is narcissism, right? You're your own God, and spiritual vacuum and lack of purpose. And I think that is, and then the culture, what the culture offers us is more of the same, is more emptiness and more. And no wonder people are unhappy. And then they're being told also they're colonializers and they're bad and they're everything about them. They're looking around like, I'm good. I want to be good. What do I do? I know, I'll save the climate, or I'll save whatever. They go into another grandiose mode, which is also narcissistic and also spiritually empty, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful impulse to revere and respect the earth and to love nature. It's a beautiful impulse to have an identity that reveres your tribe. It's a beautiful impulse to know that you are unique, that you were made fearfully and wonderfully, that you were set apart, that you have a unique and holy and important purpose. All these things are actually true. But I think they travel through the the transduction or transmission of the culture. And everything, I think, Doctor, gets kind of materialized, made material and rational and sometimes carnal and avoided of spirit, which we all know is real. I feel like C.S. Lewis described this so beautifully when he said, is there anything that indicates the idea of spirit merging with matter and biology that makes sense to us? And he said, well, yeah, each of us are the example of it. We know that we have this spiritual dimension in a number of ways, our awareness intuitively of morality, our sense that death is abhorrent, not only in the decay sense, when you were describing sort of the sort of filth that's likely aboard that ship or the conditions of decay that lead to disease. We all somehow instinctively understand that is wrong. As well, C.S. Lewis says, this, not me, that anatomical function amuses us because on some level we know we live in grace, that we have access to the sublime. We live in a culture that urgently needs redemption. Your country, the greatest country in the world by many people's reckoning, is experiencing a new crisis in the form of the collapse that takes place when once again fetishization of individual power and the deification of fallen and broken human beings leads to disappointment. Every single one of these false idols, whether it's Barack Obama or whether it's going to be AOC or J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom, they are human beings. They're human beings operating in a system that's organized, I think, if not around an evil principle, then certainly around fallenness, brokenness. Until we are able to instate spiritual principles in every aspect of our lives and learn to support leaders that are at least trying to live spiritually wholesome lives, which I think would begin with confession and openness about who they are and their brokenness, then we are going to live in this purgatorial cycle. We can't progress unless we acknowledge being human involves all of us. We're all broken. We're all fallen. To cite Chesterton, what's the problem with the world? I am. I'm broken. I'm greedy. I've done a whole bunch of very, very silly things. I happen to be an extremely honest person, and that's something that's going to be verified over time by God's grace. That's not because I'm a great person. I am broken, but I have access, as does anyone. There is no favoritism. I'm not more important or less important than you or anyone listening to this now, even though I've enjoyed great glory by the metrics of this culture. I've been celebrated. I've been famous. I've walked up and down red carpets. I've dated and been amongst the beautiful people, the beautiful women. I've enjoyed extraordinary spoils, and all of it is ashes and empty, except in so much as it's a reflection of the one true glory. Now, if that can be reduced once more to just, buy this book. I do want you to buy this book. It would be good for me if you buy this book. I'm not looking to make any money from this book. I want to participate in the banquet, Dr. Drew. There is glory here. I know you know it too, because I've been speaking to you intermittently for years. I know you're a scientist and a man of medicine, and I'm sure there's a million things we could find to disagree on. But I also know that you have diagnosed this world as sick and broken and somehow getting sicker. And unless there is radical change, and that radical change is going to require the participation of everyone, the first thing we must overcome is the idea that we are nullified and that we can't participate. Spiritual glory is something that we participate in individually. We don't need hierarchies or institutions or brokerage. We are free, actually, to consult with and communicate with God right now. When we make that step as individuals in fellowship with one another, in community and communion with one another, the world begins to change. Whilst I am a follower of Jesus Christ, I'm not in any position to advocate for or judge or attribute or prescribe other people's spiritual paths. I'm here to say that I am broken, and without him, I would continue to be broken, and I will be broken with him. But there is purpose and meaning in my life now. I have no doubt about what I'm here to participate in. People will hear this and they will know that I am telling the truth. This is a time of radical change. We're not saved because of anything that we've done or anything that we could do, but we are called. We are called to participate with him. And each of us has a great value. Each of us has a contribution to make. It's not that you're fantastic if you're famous and celebrated or wealthy. I don't know what my path's going to be anymore. Sometimes I must participate in politics because it seems urgent that space changes. Other times Sometimes I think I would like to live in absolute solitude and never communicate with anyone outside of my immediate family and my beloved friends, because this world can't give me anything anymore. It can't give me anything. I've seen all of it. I've seen it, Dr. Drew. I've been deluged in it, drowned in it. And really, I'm here only to participate in so much as I can help people to feel loved. And it'll become clear to me whether that's effective or not really quickly, I suppose.
Here's what I want to do. I need to take a quick couple-minute break, but I want to come back and talk about some specifics that you're laying out in the book. You know, what are the things that people can start doing right now, and what can they expect from that? All right. Rusty Rockets is on X. That's Russell Brand, Rusty Rockets. We will be right back.
Thank you.
And your body tends to respond to whole food nutrients working together. And rather than isolated ingredients all compete for absorption. Paleo Valley's bone broth is a whole food, not a supplement. It delivers vital amino acids the way nature packaged them, made from 100% grass-fed bones. No fillers, solvents, or artificial anything. Comes in 6 varieties. My favorite, of course, is chocolate, which goes in my coffee on a regular basis. And Susan makes me these protein frappuccinos, which are... I have to tell you a little quick story. Don't hold that, Susan. She has a formerly top secret recipe, and she's going to share it with you. But more importantly, I want to share with you. There it is, right there. She stuck this down in front of me during the show, and when we cut to commercial, I sucked it down, and she's like, "You ruined it! I have to go make another one so they can see how great they look." So I get to have a second frappuccino. Again. The way she does it, it's instant coffee mixed in 1 cup of water, 1 cup of heavy cream, and crushed ice, whipped cream on top. It is a nutritious treat, not just a sugar bomb. It's all collagen protein. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 15% discount when you buy this, or 20% off when you subscribe. We are such a fan of their products and the care with which Autumn and her team. Thank you. She says I can drink it. Goes about processing and the regenerative farming, everything. We sign off on all her stuff. So, excuse me, I just can't sit in front of me without me drinking it. Dr. Drew. Got a few more minutes with Russell Brand. This is the book. It is How to Become a Christian in 7 Days. May take 50 years of sin and serious F-ups, yes, to get started. Also, there's a very Kafka-esque back page on this thing. I saw that first. I was like, oh my God, that is very interesting back of the book. So Russell, as I understand, your moment of transformation was with your child, right? When he was born with centrology. And
that's right.
And that sort of... And you said you broke apart. Were you, and you sort of alluded to having suicidality, which when you have a sick child, the pain is just, you think you can't survive it, right? It feels like I'm not going to survive this.
Yes, that is what it felt like. That is what it felt like. It's got a peculiar concoction of like shame as well, and like what this, and like punishment. There's so much packed into it. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Like, it's sort of being responsible for it. I mean, if you're the father of a child that's not well, I think initially, I don't want to speak to anyone else's experience because my wife even handled it really differently. But it just felt eviscerating initially. I mean, when we got the news, which I write about in the book, it's impossible not to be changed by an experience like that. I'm embarrassed, maybe even, were I not redeemed, I would say ashamed to admit that at the time I first thought, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with, on top of everything else I've dealt with in my life, the problem of a sick child. In fact, that's what I said to my wife. I'm not going to Great Ormond Street. That's a famous hospital like St. Jude's or something in our country. Kids with tubes up their nose, kids with wires in their belly, all of that stuff that you must be very familiar with. And when I got to Great Ormond Street and I saw all those children and I saw the place where they park the hearse to take the children that don't make it out of there. And I saw the parents and the nurses and the doctors and beautiful spirited children. I thought, Who do you think you are? Who are you not to go to Great Ormond Street? Not in a condemning way, actually, in a way that made me realize this is your path. This is it, man. This is what life is. Life is that you deal with what is put in front of you. And of course, blessedly, by God's grace and by the excellence of surgeons like Victor Sang and brilliant doctors at Great Ormond Street, my son is well. He is well, and he is beautiful. He's an extraordinary, bright, and incredible boy, and I feel such an easy grace around him. It's a very, very godly and beautiful and painful experience. It's like being a parent's painful anyway. Any parent, or you know what that's like. It breaks your heart every single day. Yeah. It lifts you up. It's glorious. It's everything. But it's Yeah, it was the way that it happened and the time that it happened was extremely instructional, Doctor.
And so he gave you this great gift of recovery and spirituality, and he himself parenting a child, and you share some of that here. How to build a spiritual life. Give me a couple of examples of what people can learn.
All right. Well, the only way I can approach this is as a man in recovery who's involuntarily had a visceral experience of Christ. When you're a drug addict, when you're drinking all the time and taking drugs the whole time, you know that what you're doing is wrong, that it's destructive, but it's the only thing you understand. It's the only thing that you know. I heard from a pastor, and I now know that it's a sort of a popular Christian idea, that when you are still living in the world, worshipping the world, attached to the world, the metaphor I heard was it's not that you're drowning, you are dead. Now, how I understand that now is if your life is about the acquisition of objects, maybe one day you'll get a yacht, maybe one day you'll get a lot, maybe one day you'll encounter a partner so attractive that they'll overwhelm you so much that you're not you anymore. That is a dead idea. You are foreclosed. It's an idea that's been given to you. It's an idea that you've somehow glommed onto. You're waiting for salvation and awakening to be stirred by a dead and empty world. I suppose the combination of reputational destruction and a kind of annihilation and this very serious, very intimate, real thing happening in our family, in this case, learning about my boy, it meant that there was a kind of urgent decimation that I couldn't see beyond. And in that moment, God found me. I didn't find God, and it didn't come how I thought it would. It weren't by a rational process. In my guts, the image on the front of that cover, the cover of the book, I felt it. I felt the cross going into my abdomen. That's not a rational or logical thing, and I still don't really understand it now, except from that moment, I knew, and as I know now, that Jesus is not just another prophet, wise man, or espouser of great wisdom and truth, but he is the source of truth. And that's a hard thing for us to believe in. It's hard to believe in the resurrection. It's hard to believe in healing, except until you remember that we are all here now, participating in the miracle of consciousness, the miracle of life, the glory of nature. It has come from somewhere. Now, the culture's story is that it came from nothing, that nature begat nature, and all you have to do is believe that at some point, 13.8 billion years ago, to be vague and as precise as people can be, there was a dense explosion that created all reality and all of its laws, and it's rushing nowhere and it means nothing. And when you believe that, the idea of pursuing pleasure seems like a pretty sensible option, actually. But it makes very, very little sense when you participate in beauty and when you participate in joy. How do you do that individually? You acknowledge that your condition is bad. The condition of the world is bad. You are on the Titanic. You're on the Titanic. It's going down. It's going to sink. You're going to die. It doesn't matter if you're the captain or if you're in steerage. The iceberg of your own death is coming. And if what you worship are the various things on the Titanic, good luck when the cold water comes up around you. Hell may not be hot. It may be freezing cold, as Dante said. But there is a way out. There is a lifeboat. His glory is waiting for you within you. And if you're curious about it, do what I was taught to do. It happened to me involuntarily. Subsequently, though, since reading the Bible, since being around Christians, I've learned that I can remain in continual discourse with Christ. I can talk to him now and be with him now. And if that sounds sort of crazy or woo-woo, then, I suppose good luck trying to defibrillate pleasure out of this dead world, out of dead politics, dead systems, dead institutions, and an inevitable imperial, centralized, globalist movement that is going to become increasingly authoritarian, using successive crises to justify more and more control, not because they hate you, but because you're so valuable that they want to protect you, so they need you to stay in your home. There may be subsequent injections coming. There may be a chip coming under your skin. All of these things that we've been taught to mock and laugh at and consider risible, that are already happening in parts of the world. And even today, in my country, the King of England said, digital ID is coming. We must modernize, while sitting on a throne wearing a crown. The world is absurd and ridiculous. It's God that is real. It's the fallen empire that we must turn away from, which is actually just a message of repentance. It's all available to you in the Bible if my book's not your bag.
Yeah, I think staying close to fallenness is a good thing. People have gotten way too self-important. I saw the king on the throne today with his crown saying that stuff I did, and then Pierre Starmer reiterating it and co-signing it. It's like, okay. But I want you to know something. I always walk away from every conversation you and I have had in the light. Like you radiate something and you're inspiring, and I appreciate you being willing to share your experience. And like you said, whether it's everyone's bag or not, I think everyone kind of understands we live in a spiritually challenged situation, and you got to find your way into something more. And you are a great example of that. And I always really appreciate you and enjoy talking with you.
You're a good man. Thank you, Doctor.
And I promised I'd get you out of here by 1:45, speaking of being a good man. So we're right on schedule. I will let you go, and I hope to talk to you again very soon. And I just enjoyed, I think I saw you with your wife too. Did I not see that somewhere on social media or something? The two of you talking about the book. I thought that was great.
Thank you. We do. Thanks. I love being with her, man. I didn't realize how wonderful she was until I did a podcast with her. Sunday service, every Sunday we talk about our very different perspectives on the faith, and it's lovely and enjoyable. Good. People can watch that on Rumble or YouTube or wherever they get that stuff.
Great, Russell. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you again soon someday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
God bless you.
Check that book. Here it is again, How to Become a Christian in 7 Days. It may take 50 years of sin and serious F-ups to get started. And I would say, don't let it take 50 years.